You did everything right. You worked hard. You followed the rules. You saved your money. You were patient. You were disciplined. So why does it feel like you're still falling behind? Why does it feel like you're running on a treadmill, burning all your energy, but going absolutely nowhere? After 30, this question starts to haunt you. Not loudly, quietly. At night, when distractions are gone, you look around and notice something disturbing. People who don't seem smarter than you, don't work harder than you, and definitely don't play fair, are pulling ahead at an impossible speed. This is not bad luck. This is not a temporary setback. It's because you were taught to play a game that was never designed for you to win. After 30, life stops rewarding fairness. It rewards clarity, leverage, and decision. The rules that worked in your 20s, be honest. Work hard. Wait your turn. Become financial traps in your 30s. This video is not motivation. It's not comfort. And it's definitely not politically correct. This is a wake-up call. Because after 30, you don't get rich by playing fair. You get rich by playing accurately. And today, you're going to learn the real rules of the game. Playing fair feels right. It feels responsible. It feels mature. And that's exactly why it's dangerous after 30. Because playing fair was never a financial strategy. It was a social agreement designed to create stability, not freedom. When you're young, playing fair works well enough. You have time. You have margin for error. You can afford to learn slowly. But after 30, time becomes expensive. Mistakes compound faster. And every year spent drifting quietly steals momentum from the next 10. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Fairness rewards obedience, not ownership. The system loves people who play fair, people who show up on time, who work hard without questioning leverage, who save politely and wait patiently. Because those people keep the machine running, but the machine does not make them wealthy. After 30, continuing to play fair is no longer innocence. It's a decision to trade certainty for comfort, to trade potential for predictability, to trade freedom for approval. And that trade is irreversible if left unchallenged. Fair play tells you don't rock the boat. Be grateful. Stay in your lane. Your time will come. But wealth does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who position. The people who pull ahead in their 30s and 40s aren't cheating. They're simply refusing to play by rules that cap upside and punish ambition. They stop asking, what's the right thing to do, and start asking, what actually works? This is where many people get uncomfortable, because fairness is emotional, not logical. Fairness says effort should be rewarded. Reality says results are rewarded. Fairness says loyalty matters. Reality says leverage matters. Fairness says patience is virtuous. Reality says delay is deadly. After 30, the market does not grade on effort. It grades on outcome. You can be honest, hardworking, and disciplined and still be financially irrelevant, because the system doesn't pay for virtue. It pays for value, skill, and timing. Playing fair keeps you busy. It keeps you respectable. It keeps you tired. And being tired feels productive, which is why it's such an effective trap. Most people confuse exhaustion with progress. They say, I'm working so hard. Something has to break eventually. Yes, something does break. Your energy, your patience, your belief. Meanwhile, the people you secretly envy are not working harder. They are working differently. They stopped selling hours. They started building assets. They stopped asking permission. They started making decisions. They stopped optimizing comfort. They started optimizing leverage. This is not about being unethical. It's about being accurate. Fairness belongs to games where all players start equal, play by the same rules, and share the same risks. Wealth is not that game. Wealth is asymmetric. It rewards early movers, owners, and decision makers. It punishes hesitation and obedience. After 30, the cost of fairness is no longer theoretical. It shows up as anxiety, as regret, as the quiet fear that you did everything right and still ended up stuck. If this feels uncomfortable, it should, because discomfort is the signal that an old belief is dying. And in the next chapter, we're going to dismantle the most dangerous belief of all, the idea that the middle-class path was designed for your success. Most people never fail financially. They simply follow instructions perfectly. From the moment you were young, a script was handed to you, not written in ink, but repeated so often it became truth. Go to school, get good grades, get a stable job, work hard, save a little, retire someday. It sounds responsible. It sounds safe. It sounds like common sense. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. Because the middle-class script was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you reliable workers, reliable taxpayers, reliable consumers. The system doesn't need everyone to be rich. It needs people who show up, comply, and don't ask dangerous questions, like who actually owns this, who benefits if I follow this path. Why do the rules never seem to change for me but always bend for others? The middle-class path is sold as opportunity, but it's engineered for predictability. Predictable income, predictable spending, predictable debt, predictable behavior, and predictable people are easy to manage. This is not a conspiracy, it's design. Schools train you to follow instructions, not build leverage. Jobs reward obedience, not ownership. Savings accounts teach you to delay gratification, but not to multiply capital. You're taught to be careful, not strategic. Careful people don't disrupt systems. They sustain them. After 30, the danger becomes visible. You realize the ceiling was always there, you just couldn't see it from below. Raises come slower. Taxes come faster. Inflation quietly erodes what you saved. And suddenly, doing everything right feels like running in place. Because the middle-class script is linear and wealth is exponential. Linear paths reward time. Exponential paths reward positioning. The middle class trades time for money. Owners trade systems for scale. The middle class is taught to avoid risk. Owners learn to price it. The middle class asks, how much do I make per year? Owners ask, how much value does this asset produce without me? This is why so many intelligent, hard-working people feel trapped. They were never taught how the game actually works. They were taught how to be good participants, not powerful players. The system praises loyalty. But loyalty without equity is a liability. It praises stability. But stability without growth is slow decay. It praises patience. But patience without leverage becomes stagnation. After 30, the middle-class script starts to cost you something real. It costs optionality. It costs negotiating power. It costs the ability to say no, and the most expensive cost of all, it costs time. Time you can't rewind. Years you can't replay. This is why people feel a quiet panic in their 30s. Not loud, not dramatic, just the realization that the path they're on doesn't lead where they thought it would. And here's the hardest truth. The script works perfectly for what it was designed to do. It creates workers who keep the economy running. It does not create owners who control it. If you follow it blindly, you don't fail. You just never win. In the next chapter, we're going to dismantle one of the most dangerous myths. This script depends on the idea that working harder is the solution, because effort is not the problem. Direction is. Hard work has never been your weakness. If anything, it's been your strength. You show up, you push through, you endure. And yet, the harder you work, the more exhausted you feel, not more free. That's because effort without direction doesn't create wealth. It creates fatigue. The world praises hard work because hard workers are useful. But usefulness is not the same as power. After 30, effort stops being impressive. Results become the only language that matters. You can work harder than everyone around you and still move backward if your energy is aimed in the wrong direction. This is the trap most people fall into. They assume the solution to slow progress is more hours, more hustle, more sacrifice. But more effort applied to a flawed path only accelerates disappointment. Hard work is like fuel. Direction is the steering wheel. Without direction, fuel just burns. This is where most people get stuck. They mistake motion for progress. They are busy all day, but building nothing that lasts. They exhaust themselves maintaining income instead of creating assets. They trade time for money, then wonder why time disappears. The wealthy understand something simple and brutal. Hard work is common. Leverage is rare. Millions of people work hard. Very few work with a definite purpose. Direction means knowing exactly what outcome you are building toward and refusing to waste energy on anything that doesn't serve it. Most people don't lack discipline. They lack clarity. They don't know what they're building. So every opportunity looks tempting. They say yes to everything. They chase promotions, side hustles, certifications, trends, hoping something sticks. This scattershot effort feels productive, but it fragments momentum. Direction compress effort. It turns ordinary work into exponential progress. When your direction is clear, you don't need to work harder, you need to work less, but with precision. This is why two people can put in the same effort and get radically different outcomes. One is climbing a ladder leaning against the wrong wall. The other is building an elevator in the right building. Hard work becomes dangerous when it's used as a substitute for thinking. It becomes a way to avoid uncomfortable questions like, is this actually taking me where I want to go? Does this build equity or just income? Will this still pay me if I stop showing up after 30? These questions are no longer optional because time is no longer abundant, and misdirected effort compounds regret. Direction forces you to make hard decisions. It forces you to say no to good opportunities so you can say yes to the right one. It forces you to stop optimizing for short-term comfort and start optimizing for long-term leverage. It shifts your focus from how hard can I work to where should my effort be placed so it multiplies. This is where assets enter the conversation. Assets are stored effort. They are work that keeps working, a business system, a skill that scales, an investment that compounds, a platform that grows while you sleep. Hard work creates assets only when it's aimed correctly. Otherwise, it just creates exhaustion. The painful truth is this: many people aren't underpaid. They're misdirected. They're pushing with all their strength in a direction that leads nowhere. And the moment they realize this, everything changes. In the next chapter, we're going to make the most important distinction of all the difference between income and assets. Because once you understand that difference, you stop running faster and start moving forward. Most people believe the gap between rich and poor is intelligence, luck, or education. It's not. The real divide is far simpler and far more dangerous. It's the difference between income and assets. Income is what you earn. Assets are what pay you. Income requires your presence. Assets work without it. After 30, confusing the two becomes fatal to your financial future. Income feels powerful because it's visible. A higher salary, a bigger contract, a larger commission. It creates the illusion of progress. But income is temporary. It stops the moment you stop showing up. Assets are invisible at first, which is why most people ignore them. But assets compound quietly. They grow while you sleep. They pay you whether you're motivated or not. This is why two people can earn the same income and end up in completely different financial realities. One spends income to support a lifestyle. The other converts income into assets. One looks successful. The other becomes free. After 30, income alone is no longer enough because income is taxed first. Inflation eats it second. Lifestyle absorbs the rest. Assets do the opposite. Assets protect against inflation. They produce cash flow. They increase your leverage over time. This is why wealthy people are obsessed with ownership. They don't ask, "How much do I make this year?" They ask, "What do I own that produces value without me?" A salary, even a high one, is still a ceiling. An asset is a multiplier. This is where many intelligent people get trapped. They chase higher income without changing the structure of their finances. They get raises, bonuses, promotions, and yet remain fragile. Because when income rises, expenses rise with it. This is known as lifestyle creep, and it quietly kills financial freedom. More money simply creates a larger cage. Assets break that pattern. Every asset you build or acquire reduces your dependence on income. A rental property produces rent. A business produces profit. An investment portfolio produces dividends. A digital product produces sales. These are not fantasies. They are systems. And systems are the only path to scalable wealth. Income rewards effort. Assets reward positioning. This is why build assets. Not income is not a slogan. It's a survival principle. After 30, time is no longer abundant, so your effort must outlive you. Assets are effort that keeps working. They store your discipline. They store your decisions. They store your patience. Income disappears the moment it arrives. Assets stay. This is also why the wealthy don't fear volatility the way others do. When markets fall, income earners panic. Asset owners prepare. Because assets can be bought at a discount. Cash flow can be reinvested. Ownership can be expanded. The middle class asks, "How do I earn more?" The wealthy ask, "How do I convert earnings into ownership?" That single question changes everything. It shifts your focus from spending to deploying, from consuming to building, from looking rich to becoming powerful. After 30, the goal is no longer to impress. It's to stabilize and scale, to build a structure that supports you instead of one you must constantly support. In the next chapter, we're going to take this one step further, because assets alone are not enough. You need leverage, and leverage is what separates slow progress from exponential wealth. Hard work creates motion. Leverage creates momentum. This is the line that separates people who stay busy forever from people who eventually become free. After 30, effort alone stops compounding. Leverage does not. Leverage is simple to define but difficult to master. It is the ability to get outsized results from a limited amount of time. Energy or capital. Most people never build leverage. They rely entirely on themselves, their hands, their hours, their constant presence, and that's why they burn out. The wealthy think differently. They ask one question relentlessly: how can this work without me? That question changes everything. Because when you remove yourself from the equation, you are forced to build systems, and systems scale. There are three forms of leverage that dominate modern wealth creation. The first is financial leverage. This is the strategic use of capital, often other people's money, to control assets that produce cash flow. This is not reckless debt. This is calculated leverage. A rental property purchased with a modest down payment gives you control over the full value of the asset. You benefit from appreciation, and tax efficiency while deploying only a fraction of the capital. Used poorly, leverage destroys lives. Used strategically, it accelerates wealth. The difference is discipline. The second form is time leverage. Your time is finite. There are only so many hours you can sell. If your income depends entirely on your presence, your growth will always hit a ceiling. Time leverage means building something once that pays you repeatedly. A business system, a team, a product, a process. Instead of trading 1 hour for one payment, you build a structure where one decision creates results hundreds or thousands of times. This is why business ownership outpaces employment over time. You are no longer the engine. You become the architect. The third form is knowledge and media leverage. This is one of the most underestimated assets in the modern economy. When you document what you know through content, education, or intellectual property, your thinking begins to scale. A single idea can reach thousands. A single message can work for you for years. This is why platforms matter. This is why authority compounds. You stop chasing opportunity. Opportunity finds you. Leverage works because it breaks the time for money equation. Busy people trade effort for income. Strategic people trade structure for freedom. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people avoid leverage because it requires responsibility. When you rely on yourself, failure feels personal. When you build systems, failure becomes feedback. Leverage forces you to think long-term, to plan, to design, and that thinking is uncomfortable for people addicted to constant activity. After 30, the question is no longer, how hard can I work? It's what can I build that keeps working? This is why leverage feels unfair, because two people can apply the same effort and one multiplies it while the other exhausts it. Leverage doesn't reward morality. It rewards structure, and structure rewards clarity, patience, and discipline. In the next chapter, we're going to address one of the most dangerous financial positions of all, relying on a single source of income. Because no matter how hard you work or how smart you are, dependency is vulnerability. One income feels safe, predictable, stable. And that illusion is exactly what makes it dangerous. When all your financial life depends on a single paycheck, you are not secure, you are exposed. After 30, risk changes shape. It's no longer about reckless decisions. It's about fragility. A single income means your entire lifestyle. Your savings, Your future plans are tied to one variable you do not fully control. One boss, one company, one industry. That is not stability. That is concentration risk. The system sells this setup as security because it benefits from predictability. A reliable employee is easy to manage. A dependent worker is easy to replace. And as long as the paycheck arrives on time, most people never question the structure until something shifts. A restructuring, a new technology, a downturn, a health issue, and suddenly, what felt solid reveals itself as brittle. This is why financial anxiety spikes after 30. Not because people are irresponsible, but because they sense how thin the margin really is. One income keeps you compliant. It limits your ability to negotiate. It limits your willingness to take strategic risks. It limits your voice. You can't easily walk away. You can't easily say no. Dependency quietly erodes confidence. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They don't think in terms of jobs. They think in terms of cash flow. They build multiple income streams, not for greed, but for resilience. When income comes from different sources that are not correlated, your position strengthens. If one stream slows, others keep moving. This creates psychological freedom before it creates financial freedom. You think more clearly when survival is not at stake. Multiple income streams are not about doing everything at once. They're about removing single points of failure. Your primary income is the foundation, not the destination. It funds the construction of your second stream, which funds the third, which eventually gives you leverage. This could be rental income, dividend-paying investments, a small business, a digital product, freelance expertise. Each stream does one thing: it reduces dependency, and reduced dependency increases power. This is why the idea of job security is outdated. No job is secure. Only adaptability is. The goal after 30 is not to abandon stability, but to outgrow reliance. You want income that doesn't require constant permission. Money that arrives whether or not you ask for it. Because the moment your living expenses are covered by more than one source, your entire posture changes. You stop negotiating from fear. You stop clinging to comfort. You stop tolerating situations that drain your energy. This is real financial security. Not the absence of risk, but the presence of options. People with one income panic in uncertainty. People with multiple income streams prepare. They see downturns as opportunities. They deploy capital while others retreat. After 30, this difference compounds quickly. Those who remain dependent grow anxious and cautious. Those who diversify grow calm and strategic. And calm decision-making is one of the most undervalued advantages in wealth creation. In the next chapter, we're going to take this even further. Because income streams alone are not enough. You must also decide where you play the game. And positioning more than effort determines who wins. Most people believe success is about effort. Some believe it's about talent. Very few understand the real driver of wealth: positioning. You can be intelligent, disciplined, and hardworking and still lose if you are positioned in the wrong place. After 30, this becomes painfully clear, because effort does not exist in a vacuum. It is amplified or suffocated by the environment you place it in. A brilliant worker in a dying industry struggles. An average worker in a booming industry rises effortlessly. This is not unfair. It is structural. Positioning determines the size of the game you're playing. Most people are passive about it. They choose careers based on proximity, familiarity, or comfort. They stay where they started. They follow paths that were available, not strategic. And then they wonder why progress feels capped. The wealthy do the opposite. They study the terrain. They ask questions most people never ask. Where is capital flowing? Which industries are expanding, not shrinking? Which skills are becoming more valuable every year? Where is leverage increasing? Because money moves in trends. And positioning yourself in the path of those trends multiplies effort. This is why location, industry, and network matter. Not because of status, but because proximity creates opportunity. Being near growth exposes you to information, people, and timing that others never see. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room if you're in the right room. This is also why high-income skills matter so much after 30. Not all skills are equal. Some scale, some don't. Some are tied to time. Others are tied to outcomes. A strategist asks, does this skill become more valuable as the world changes or less? Technology rewards leverage. Global markets reward specialization. The future pays premiums for people who solve expensive problems. Yet, many people double down on skills that are slowly being automated, outsourced, or commoditized. They perfect yesterday's value while tomorrow's economy passes them by. Positioning requires humility. It requires admitting that effort alone is not enough and that loyalty to a shrinking pond is not a virtue. Sometimes the smartest move is not to work harder, but to move. Move industries, move roles, move your learning focus, move your network. A marketer in a local business has a ceiling. That same marketer positioned in a global tech ecosystem has leverage. The skill didn't change. The position did. This is why, after 30, you must stop thinking of yourself as a fixed identity. You are a strategic asset, and assets must be placed where they perform best. The masses wait for opportunity. Strategists place themselves where opportunity emerges. This doesn't mean chasing every trend. It means making deliberate, long-term bets. It means asking, if I stay on this path for 10 more years, does it compound or decay? Because decay is silent. You don't feel it day to day. You just wake up one day and realize your value hasn't grown while the world has moved on. After 30, positioning becomes urgent because you no longer have the luxury of waiting to be discovered. You must decide where you belong in the future economy and move toward it intentionally. In the next chapter, we're going to confront a dangerous illusion, the idea that looking wealthy is the same as being powerful, because real wealth is rarely loud, and the strongest structures are the ones you don't see. Most people don't want to be wealthy. They want to look wealthy, and that single confusion keeps them broke. Modern culture rewards visibility. It celebrates displays, not foundations. Attention, not stability. Cars, watches, vacations, status symbols designed to be seen. But looking rich and being powerful are rarely the same thing. After 30, this illusion becomes dangerous, because every dollar spent to impress is a dollar that cannot protect or multiply you. Loud money is fragile. It depends on constant inflow. It requires maintenance, and it collapses quickly under pressure. Silent wealth does the opposite. It is built quietly, protected carefully, and compounds patiently. The truly wealthy rarely announce themselves. They don't need to. Their power comes from structure, not spectacle. This is why so many people earning high incomes still feel anxious. Their lifestyle depends on performance. Their identity depends on perception. Miss a paycheck, lose relevance, face a downturn, and everything is exposed. Silent wealth removes that pressure. It separates ego from security. It prioritizes ownership over applause. This is also why the most dangerous financial mistake after 30 is tying your identity to income or status. When your self-worth is linked to what you earn or what you display, you become emotionally vulnerable. You make decisions to protect image, not long-term leverage. You avoid boring opportunities that actually build freedom. You chase excitement instead of durability. The wealthy think in fortresses, not facades. A fortress is designed to withstand pressure. It doesn't need to impress anyone outside its walls. It needs to protect what's inside. This means focusing on assets that may never appear on social media but quietly strengthen your position. Cash flowing investments, ownership stakes, reserves of optionality. It also means protecting those assets structurally. Not everything needs to be visible. Not everything should be personal. Discretion is a form of intelligence. The goal is not secrecy, it's resilience. When markets shake, loud money panics. Silent wealth prepares. Because it was never built for attention. It was built for endurance. This is where discipline becomes real. Choosing the boring investment over the exciting purchase. Choosing privacy over validation. Choosing compounding over clout. After 30, maturity in wealth looks very different from success on a screen. It looks like calm. It looks like margin. It looks like options. People who build silent wealth sleep differently. They don't check balances obsessively. They don't fear volatility the same way because their structure holds. And structure creates confidence. This is the paradox most people miss. The quieter your wealth becomes, the louder your freedom grows. You stop reacting. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You simply position. In the next chapter, we're going to move from structure to psychology, because money is not just a resource, it's a pressure system. And understanding how money shapes behavior is one of the final unlocks of real power. Drifting doesn't feel dangerous. That's why it's so lethal. It feels like normal life, like routine, like being busy. You wake up, you work, you manage responsibilities, you repeat, and years pass. After 30, drifting becomes the default state for most people. Not because they are lazy, but because decision is uncomfortable. Decision forces clarity. Clarity forces responsibility. And responsibility removes excuses. Drifting lets you stay occupied without being accountable. You can always say, I'm still figuring things out. I'll decide later. Now isn't the right time. Later becomes next year. Next year becomes a decade. And one day, you realize the decision was made for you. By inertia, the most dangerous lie after 30 is believing that not choosing is neutral. It's not. Every year without a decision locks you deeper into your current trajectory. Drifting compounds quietly just like wealth does. Except it compounds regret. The world rewards decisiveness. Not because decisive people are always right, but because they move. They create momentum. They learn faster. They adjust. Drifters wait for certainty. Deciders create it. This is why two people with the same information end up in radically different places. One consumes. The other commits. One analyzes endlessly. The other chooses and adapts. Decision is not about perfection. It's about direction. A flawed decision can be corrected. Indecision cannot. After 30, you don't need more information. You need alignment. You already know what isn't working. You feel it in your body, in your anxiety, in the quiet dissatisfaction you can't explain. That feeling is not confusion. It's clarity knocking, but clarity demands courage, because deciding means letting go of safety narratives, letting go of identities built on comfort, letting go of other people's expectations. Deciding means choosing a path that may not be validated immediately, and that scares people. Drifting is socially acceptable. Decision is lonely. This is why so many people stay in situations they've outgrown, jobs that drain them, lifestyles that keep them stuck, beliefs that no longer fit. They tell themselves they're being patient, but patience without purpose is just delay dressed up as virtue. After 30, the cost of delay multiplies. Every year without a clear direction reduces the runway. This is why the idea of figuring it out someday is so dangerous. There is no someday. There is only now and the direction you choose to move. Decision does not mean you have all the answers. It means you refuse to drift. It means you choose a direction and commit long enough to let momentum build. This is the line between average and exceptional lives. Not talent, not luck, not intelligence. Decision. And once you decide, everything reorganizes. Your attention sharpens. Your energy aligns. Your opportunities change, because life responds to clarity. In the final chapter, we're going to bring everything together, not with hype, not with fantasy, but with a single, grounded truth. After 30, the game doesn't become harder, it becomes clearer. And what you do with that clarity determines everything. If you've made it this far, there's something you already know. The problem was never that you weren't capable. It was never that you didn't work hard enough. And it was never that success was meant for someone else. The problem was the rules you were taught to follow. After 30, the fog lifts. You see that fairness does not create freedom. Effort without direction does not create wealth. And patience without leverage does not create a future. This is not about becoming ruthless. It's about becoming awake. Awake to how money actually works. Awake to the cost of drifting. Awake to the power of decision. You don't need to cheat the system. You need to stop being loyal to a game that caps your upside. You don't need permission. You need clarity. You don't need more motivation. You need alignment between what you want and how you play. Because the truth is simple. After 30, you don't get rich by playing fair. You get rich by playing accurately, by building assets instead of chasing income, by using leverage instead of burning time, by positioning yourself where the future is being built, by deciding once and for all that drifting is no longer an option. The game is being played whether you like the rules or not. The only question left is this: will you remain a participant, or will you become a strategist? If this message spoke to you, subscribe to Hill Mindset Legacy. This channel is for thinkers, not drifters. Comment Decide below if you're done waiting and ready to move with intention. And if you're ready for the next step, watch the next video on this channel, because clarity is built through repetition, and discipline is built through structure. You're not late, but you can't be naive anymore. The decision is yours.